Hey guys, nice to see you. I know this has been a bit intense, like 10 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm gonna ask you all to participate a little bit in this session. So I'd like you all to stand up for just one moment. Do me a small favor, just stand up in your seat. And we're just a very short exercise just to wake you back up. Can you find the person next to you who looks most interesting and give them a high five? Just big old high five. Nice work, guys, excellent, awesome. You can sit down now and relax. I'm not gonna make you come up here and do magic tricks, it's fine. I'm almost feeling a little embarrassed that I've actually turned up today, because Tom didn't turn up from Monzo, Nikolai didn't turn up from Revolut. But look, I respect you guys. I'm here for you. We've actually turned up today. It's a good start. Gonna tell you a bit. Now, I'm actually taking a slightly different perspective. I'm not gonna give you a consumer prez like Revolut did. I'm gonna talk a bit. This is a slightly bastardized version of our investor prez, a little bit of the details taken off, so apologies. If you do want the real numbers, you can come and see me afterwards, as long as you have a fund. Tandem was started. Tandem was one of these first generation of neobanks. We're the second bank to get a license in the UK. Started by myself, Matt Cooper, and Michael Kent. Mike's been my business partner over Asimo, Small Financial Services, and a series of previous businesses I've done. But when we started off in banking, I thought, go and find somebody who's actually built a bank before. Matt built Capital One in the US, reasonably successful bank in its time, a little bit 1.0 from a digital perspective, but very strong from a data perspective. This is probably something I don't need to convince this audience of, but ultimately, banking is early on the adoption curve. But what we're starting to see is really vertiginous takeoff in the last year or so. So we estimate about 6 million people have tried these guys on the left, the sort of digital challenger banks. I've included Revolut, even though it's not a bank in there, but it's definitely got banking ambitions, applying for a license in a number of places. You probably don't need the history lesson, but there's been, the UK has actually had some new entrants, unlike many banking markets where there'd be no new licensees. We had the supermarkets having a crack at it. They made some inroads. We've had a number of sort of private equity-backed banks come in that were really specialist finance businesses that wanted to fund through deposits. But they haven't really threatened the big banks. But we believe that this new generation of digital challenger banks is going to have a really big impact. And why? Everyone goes to me, okay, great, Ricky, but why on earth are these guys actually going to have it make any difference at all? And there was a nice video from Revolut about how it's all these horrible fees and things. But the truth is, that unlike Uber, Spotify, etc., banks were not designed to solve customer problems. And so what we did is we went back to basics, and we actually did 400 customer in-home interviews to say, what are your money problems? What are the things we're actually trying to address here as a bank, if we assume the bank is here in service of its customers? And from that, we identified about 2,000 customer needs. We boiled that down to about 200 of the most important ones, did a 40,000 person customer survey to identify which were the ones that were really important pain points. And one of the really important pain points that came out is the one Revolut's built off, which is the pain of fees and charges while I'm abroad. But the highest one was running out of money at the end of the month. About 60% of the UK population run out of money at least 1 month in the year. So this isn't a problem that's reserved for the low income. So we built a service called Cash Finder, which I'll show you in a moment, part of it, which essentially allows customers to understand better where they are in the month. What we've done is we've built a load of AI models that take all your transactions in. We use open banking, so you can actually attach your bank accounts to your Tandem account. And we'll analyze with all the bills that will be coming out, so we identify those bills, figure out which ones are coming out in the future, and tell you how much money you've got left to spend, taking all of those future draws into account. We also released that in January with our credit card, which interacts with your existing balance and your spending money to make sure that you're not spending too much money overall in the month, and obviously to give you, up to 56 days of free credit if you need it. But this service we rolled out last year. Savings Coach has just been released, so we pressed it a couple of weeks ago. So Savings Coach is essentially identifying a second big customer need, which is, in fact, people find it really difficult to save money. And so what it does is it does a whole range of things, including the stuff you saw from some Revolut in terms of Vault, but we offer about 20 different mechanics that help you save money towards individual goals. These are mostly shorter-term goals. We talk about saving money for holidays and celebrations, for customers, these longer-term pieces are over here on the right. Customers found less emotive in the short term. Our next service coming out early next year will be Debt Reducer, and then Future Fund, which is focusing on investments, saving towards a home, et cetera, et cetera. So what we're trying to do here is build a service layer that sits over the top of the old-fashioned banking products and enables customers to manage their money more easily. I have now, I think, got a video. So I'm just going to show you briefly 1-minute video that shows you how setting up spending money. This is what the app looks like. So you can see this person has a cashback card, and they're setting up spending money now. It identifies your account, identifies which payments are coming out. You tell it when you get paid and when you want to start your monthly count from. It uses the AI models to actually go and pull through which are your bills. You tell it if there are things in here that it's inaccurately identified as bills, you get rid of them, hit continue, and then it will automatically calculate your spending money left in the month. This, by the way, interestingly, is, I mean, it looks relatively simple, but actually the problems that underlie this are quite complex. So we've now analyzed about 50 million transactions in total at Tandem, and we've trained our model over the course of those transactions. But actually, when we first went out, we tried to buy something off the shelf to do this, and we found out it's actually almost impossible with a rules-based engine to accurately identify bills and recurring payments. To identify even your salary is quite a challenge. So we had to build our own comprehensive machine learning model in order to do that. So our next service, which I described earlier, includes both an instant access savings account, so an underlying financial product, regular micro deposits, micro savings, automated sweep, roundups. You can see some of them over here on the right. And then you set up a series of savings rules. They'll then tell you how you're making progress and track your progress towards your goals. But one of the questions we often get asked is, how do you differ from the competition? Well, the truth is we're all pretty different, actually. There's a lot of the players that you've seen here today who are banks, including the N26, Monzo, Revolut, and Starling, can access have a sort of overdraft or current account-centric model, which is great from the perspective of customer interaction and engagement, but has a couple of challenges. First of all, marketplace, which is selling other people's products. If we were to think about this in terms of market, there's £53 billion retail banking market in the UK. That's the total revenue pool. About 5 billion of that, just under, accrues to introductions, originations, marketplace. So that's about 1/10 of it. Overdrafts is about 8 billion, so it's a significant amount. But if you want to get rid of the nasty fees and charges, it gets down to about 4 billion. And then most of the market sits in mortgages about 20, and loans and credit cards about another 13 billion. So the majority of the market for retail banking today, even however you recreate the market, sits over on the right-hand side of here, where essentially we're playing on our own, or in the case of mortgages, playing with Atom. So what have we done this year? We've acquired Harrods Bank at the beginning of the year to get a license and 80 million in funding, which is sitting in Core Tier 1 capital in that vehicle. Launched a cashback card, integrated with Harrods Bank in March. People were like, oh shit, how's it going to be integrating a legacy bank? Well, it turns out if you're a software company where most of your employees do tech, it's not that difficult. We launched fixed term savers, acquired a small startup called Parity with an outstanding CEO who's joined us as head of marketing and product. Launched unsecured personal loans, hit 250,000 registered users, launched our Journey card, which is for people beginning their credit journey, and then launched Savings Coach, which I described earlier. We just actually, in terms of what makes Tandem really different though, in line with our Capital One heritage, what we do is we take a shitload of data and we apply proper machine learning and AI techniques to model that data, store that data. Obviously it needs to be cleansed and treated properly, and get outputs for our customers in terms of identifying their bills, in terms of seeing where they can save money on their utilities or other stuff, but also generate value for ourselves in terms of credit scoring, in terms of cross-selling products, and in terms of fraud analytics. What has that done so far for us? Well, we've just hit about 400,000 users, as I referred to earlier. On the right-hand side, and sorry to strip the numbers off here, but the blue is number of accounts. The red on here is Tandem gross interest income. So we actually PR'd in July. We hit. So in August, we hit 15 million of gross revenue on an annualized basis. That's August times 12. In September, we hit 19 million. So we're growing extremely quickly in terms of both revenue and monetization, as well as in terms of users. What's next? Tandem, I mean, one of the interesting things for all of these banks is there is a global opportunity here, and Tandem is working on licensing both in the Netherlands and in Asia, and we'll be expanding shortly. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Much appreciated. Cheers.